Today is Tuesday, September 20th, 2016, and today I want to talk about Terence Crutcher. Now, if you don't know who that is, Terence Crutcher was a black male who was shot and killed by police in Tulsa, Oklahoma, just recently here. And the story behind it is not really well known. You know, a lot of people are trying to just, jump to conclusions saying that he had his hands up and then he was shot and killed as a result. So therefore, that must mean that all police are bad. That must mean that Colin Kaepernick is correct in his stance by taking the knee. All kind of things that don't make a lot of sense because there is not much really known about this case. And to talk about Colin Kaepernick before I get into the actual story here, Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. Now, why is anybody trying to say that it's right for Colin Kaepernick to take a knee here because this man was shot and killed? We really don't know what happened. We don't have any information outside of it was like a traffic stop, and for some reason he wound up shot and killed. There's video of it, which I'll play in a little bit, but the video does not really tell you a lot as far as why he was shot. Just looking at the video without any kind of context, it looks bad. It looks like he was just shot for no reason, but that is not how you go about making a decision. You got to understand what happened before. Just like in the case of Tyree King, I had information. I had 911 calls. I had a press conference from the police, a statement from the mayor. You had the person from the police holding the picture of the actual gun that he had. It was all kind of stuff that gave you more of a background as to what was going on. So in this case, people are saying that Colin Kaepernick was right to take a knee because of what's going on here. People are just trying to use this as justification to say that, look, blacks are being targeted. We're being killed by police for no reason. And Colin Kaepernick is doing the correct thing here. But my thing is, what is him taking the knee going to do about all the black on black violence, which is the chief problem? I mean, 50% of all the murder victims in the United States are black, and 52% of all the murderers are also black, even though we're only 13% of the population. That's the problem. The situation here that happened to Mr. Crutcher is unfortunate, but that's not to be confused with the norm and what goes on all day across the United States of America. But I digress. Now, what I want to do is show you the news clip of what was going on. And I also show you some of the aerial footage that they may not necessarily show in the actual news clip. One thing I want to show is where the pilot of the helicopter, or maybe the co-pilot, somebody that was in the helicopter said that he looked like a big bad dude. That's kind of a trigger moment for a lot of people. They're saying that he was profiling them and it's all kind of stuff. But before I get into that, go ahead and roll it.
This morning, there are many questions over how a man who appeared to be having car trouble ended up shot dead by police.
Somebody left their vehicle running in the middle of the street with the doors wide open.
After that 911 call Friday night, Tulsa police officer Betty Shelby arrives, finding Terence Crutcher in the street. She radios he isn't cooperating.
Full traffic, I've got a subject who won't show me his hands.
Minutes later, with at least 4 officers surrounding Crutcher, his hands are raised, but he seems to ignore their commands.
This guy's still walking.
Not for taser, I think. That looks like a bad dude, too.
It's hard to make out what happens next. Police say Crutcher makes a move for something inside his car. One officer fires his taser. Officer Shelby fires her gun.
Shots fired!
Crutcher's family believes the shooting is part of what they call an epidemic of unarmed people of color killed by police.
That big bad dude was my twin brother. That big bad dude was a father.
Tulsa's police chief now says the 40-year-old was unarmed.
I'm going to tell you right here now, there was no gun on the suspect or in the suspect's vehicle.
Crutcher's family says he didn't deserve to die, but that Officer Shelby deserves to be charged.
I want that officer to be held to the same standard. And we just want justice for my brother so he'll know as he looks down on us that his life truly mattered.
Now, the decision on whether or not that officer will face charges, federal or state, could take weeks. In the meantime, that officer is on paid leave. Guys, back to you.
He's got his hands up there for her now. Mike, I'm going to hit the recorder. This guy's still walking and following commands.
Not for taser, I think.
Got a feeling that's about to happen.
That looks like a bad dude, too. To be on something.
Which way are they facing?
Police 1, they're facing westbound. I think he may have just been tasered.
Shots fired!
Ooh. 321, we have shots fired. We have one suspect down. We need IMSA here.
They need to get this eastbound closed down if they could, because they're not going to be able to let anybody.
Okay. Police 1, we're going to need to get eastbound 36th Street North. Actually, we're just going to need 36th Street North shut down.
Okay, so you see what's going on there. You see kind of how the people in the helicopter, maybe the pilot or co-pilot, somebody in the helicopter said, you know, he appears to be a big bad dude or whatever. And the video really to me was confusing. It was confusing because you see Mr. Crutcher's vehicle in the center of the road. And they say that the vehicle broke down, but when your vehicle breaks down, normally you would feel it and you pull over to the right-hand side of wherever you are, especially where he was at, which is a 2-lane highway. So there was no way he could be in a center lane because there is no center lane. It's only 2 lanes. So wherever you are, you just pull over, right? And the thing about it is, who called the police? Did he call the police? Did he call AAA? Why was there so many officers there? Why was it a helicopter in the sky? If it's something as simple as somebody just, you know, broke down in the middle of the street, if he called the police and say, I broke down, or you call AAA or whatever it is, I mean, they would know that. So why the helicopter and why all the police? It don't make a whole lot of sense. I think a lot of this stuff will be answered when all the information comes out, because all we have right now is just the helicopter footage and also the footage from the dash cams, right? But we don't have body camera footage. I'm not quite sure if the officers had on body cameras or not, but if they did, then that would reveal a lot as to what was going on in an up close and personal way, because we can't hear the officers making any kind of commands to Mr. Crutcher, because it's weird. Like, he's walking around with his hands up. I don't understand why he's walking around. Did they tell him to go back to his vehicle? If they didn't, then why is he not, you know, following their commands? I don't get it. You know, what I think, just from my personal observation here, I think he was scared of the police and he was acting in an irrational way, which put them on edge. If you're not following the commands and you're walking around and you're trying to go back to the vehicle and you putting your hand in the vehicle, I mean, why would you do that? You know, an explanation could be that he's looking at all this Black Lives Matter stuff and he's getting indoctrinated by it, just like a lot of other individuals are. And he's making unnecessary movements, unnecessary gestures to try to preserve himself, but really it makes himself look more like a suspect. That's just my observation, but I really don't know. All I can do is speculate, but I want to err on the side of giving the police the benefit of the doubt, because the police understand what time it is. They see the helicopter in the sky. They know they got body cameras on, and they know that it's a camera right there in the squad car. So they know that they're being watched. They're not going to do anything irrational, or at least they shouldn't. It wouldn't make any sense for them to do anything irrational with all that surveillance on top of them, knowing that this person is Black, and if they kill him unnecessarily, then that can mean the end of their lives. And we know at this point in the United States, whites have a higher chance of being killed by police in the same situation. I did not say they have a higher, total number of deaths, which is true, of course, because there's more whites in America than everybody else. But they also have a higher chance of being shot and killed in a similar situation than a Black person does, because there's not the media outrage when a white person gets shot and killed by police that there is when a Black person gets shot and killed by police. And that's a fact. So just logically speaking, it makes no sense for them to do any kind of thing irrational. However, it is possible. And I think that would be found out once we get more information. Let's hear from the police, have them do a press conference. Let's hear from, let's see the body camera footage. Let's see if there's any 911 calls recorded from Mr. Crutcher, any other people that were around, any witnesses that may have called the police on him. Was it a AAA call? Did he call the police? The victim, did he call the police? What really was going on? And why was he moving around? Why was he walking around? Why was his car in the center of the road? It's a lot of unanswered questions that could lead to some type of closure and understanding of the whole situation. But what's very irresponsible is people out there, a lot of Black folks, a lot of Black Lives Matter sympathizers that are coming to the whole conclusion of, well, this is evidence of what Colin Kaepernick is taking the knee for. The police are just out there to kill black people, which is the furthest thing from the truth. The police are the last bastion of hope. As I've said before, they're the last bastion of hope in the black community. They are the last line of defense between the civilized in the black community and the uncivilized in the black community. Who else is going to do it? The father is generally not there. You got 72% single parent households in the black community. The majority of that is women raising children alone with no men in the house, right? So who's going to protect the women and children away from the predators, the gangbangers, and all of that in the black ghetto, in the black community, right? There's a lot of police interaction with black folks because of the high level of crime in black areas. It's just that simple. I think more of these things will unfortunately happen since you have an air of fear being pushed by the mainstream media, Mr. Obama himself, and others that are in high levels of power that don't do anything to try and quell a situation. Just like Colin Kaepernick, he is a prime example of what I'm talking about. You know, high profile figures making a situation worse than what it actually is, you know, taking a knee. And then you got copycats doing the exact same thing he does. People in the NFL that are weak minded, that want to follow behind him. You know, you got people that are in high school sports, just regular individuals. And then that creates an air of defiance. And that's just going to create more crime in the black community. And these people that are so-called protesting for black people are going to make the black situation worse. And I wish they would stop. Rest in peace, Mr. Crutcher. Hopefully the situation is not as bad as what it seems. But if it is, then that's what it is. If an officer must be charged and sent away to prison, then so be it. But to jump the gun and say that the police kill him because he was black and the police are inherently racist and they hate black people is irresponsible and dangerous, not only to the police officers, but more so to the black community. That's all I got to say about it. I mean, what say you? Do you think that this police shooting was completely unjustified and there's no way that anything can come out to point towards the contrary? I mean, me personally, I say it looks bad, but you got to have the information to understand what's going on because the video is very confusing. You really don't know what's going on. But do you think that I'm correct in my assertion about we need more evidence, we need more information to understand what happened here, right? Because at the end of the day, everybody has rights. You got to be able to understand what's going on. You got to be able to get some evidence. And if you're a police officer, you got to be held to a different standard. The police are called to a place. You can't compare the police to a regular citizen. When you call 911, they're not dispatching regular citizens. They're dispatching the police. And the police have certain powers they have to be able to use to keep everyone safe. Not just themselves, but everyone. Me, you, everybody. They got to keep safe. And they got to be able to have certain leeways in society to be able to do it. It is what it is. You could say it's a double standard, but that's just, the police have to be able to do that. However, there should be checks and balances. And if they went over the line here, then suffer the consequences. So that's pretty much all I got to say. Whatever your comments are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace. Oh, and P.S. One more thing I just found out. This kind of came across my desk right now. They found some PCP in the vehicle of Mr. Terence Crutcher. They just found this right now. What is it? It's about 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. They just found that in the vehicle. So that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I said in my post on Facebook. I said, hey, let's get more information before we just jump to conclusions about what's going on. Because the whole thing didn't make any sense. He had kind of like errant movements. Now, I'm not saying he was high on the PCP at the time. I don't know that. And we don't even know if it's for certain that the PCP was, found. They didn't plant it or whatever. But I'm saying that's more information that's going to come out. And it's probably going to be more and more and more as you start to unravel the onion. We can't just judge things based upon a little bit of information. I didn't even do that in the Tyree King situation where I said that if you pull a BB gun on somebody that looks real, then you can't do that because you may get shot. There was 911 calls from people that was eyewitnesses on the scene. You had the police statement. You had a statement from the mayor. You had all kind of stuff that pointed to the conclusion that I made. Rather than this, in this case, you didn't have anything. There's no police statement yet. There's no press conference. There's not much evidence. But here we have something that says that he had PCP in his vehicle. So this is going to be developing. I made another video about it. But for now, that's all I got. Peace.